So uh, there are many fluids which are running in our body. These fluid help in circulating life fluid, circulating enzymes, hormones, nutrients. Some carry they collect the things from the others. Some are there to see that there is a lubrication, there is no, everything is all right, like castrol in our body, in our bikes, or benzol, right? They serve that kind of a purpose. But there are many fluids. But of all the fluids which we need to study is the blood. Now, blood is seen in the most of the mammals, cold-blooded animals. It is not seen in the non-vertebrates. There, the blood is not there. There is something called as hemolymph. I'm sure you guys must have had a beautiful experience. Uh, I don't know. Sometimes while walking in the school or public lavatory urinals, there comes a great friend cockroach, and by mistake your चप्पल तुम्हारा पैर पचक करके आवाज आता है and then something yellowish color fluid comes out. Has anything happened like this with you in the meet? Guys, anything has happened like this in the meet or with you?
No, sir.
No. Park has got an answer starting with no. Nothing happens with him. He's such a man tapka from Heman na Partoba. Are it has happened with many people, Baba. You are the lucky one that you think you're a God man. Okay? Man's God or God's man, I could say. Right? Fine. Never mind. Anybody else who has had this experience? I have had many a times. And I have also purposely done also. When cockroach. Purposely also I have done. Okay? Now what that yellow fluid which you see that comes in, that's a hemolymph. Now why does it come like this? When you will go in 11th and 12th, you will have cockroach dissections. Okay? The reason why these non-vertebrates have hemolymph is that they do not have any blood vessel or they do not have any organ called as heart. They have only spiracles or tracheas. Okay. Now tracheas are nothing but the tubes which run throughout the body. If you take a cockroach, you'll find that there is a trachea, network of trachea, like just tubes surrounding the body of the cockroach, through which this hemolymph is being circulated. And there is a pair of ganglion. Ganglion is a pair of mass of cells or neurons which will work as a heart. It's not a heart. For example, if you see even the crab's blood is blue in color. The crab's blood is blue in color. So these all non-vertebrates till Balanoglassa. Till Balanoglassa is the hemochordite, from where the chordite or the vertebral column people started to take janam in this world. These all have this type of a system because it's an open blood system. The human beings have a closed system. Why do we say it as closed? Because it gets pumped from a heart and it is pumped into arteries, veins, and capillaries. So this is a blood is enclosed in capillaries or in blood vessels, and that is why it has been said that human blood is a closed or mammalian blood is a closed circulatory system. There was one mark question asked in the diagram, please. Question. What is closed circulatory system? I think this was asked last to last year. Okay. Write down the question was asked. What is closed circulatory system? When the blood flows inside the blood vessels, closed, C-L-O-S-E-D, closed circulatory system. When the blood flows inside the blood vessels, which is called as closed circulatory system. Now, if I, as I was telling you, there are different types of fluids that are present in our body, right? Those fluids are, one is the blood, other is the lymph, and third is the tissue fluid. Now, one by one, we are going to see. I'm going to talk about the blood late. First, let me tell you what is the lymph fluid. See, lymph fluid is nothing but a fluid which does not have any, I mean, say, there is no protein inside that. As you will understand that your blood is 90% made up of water and 10% of organic substances. And that 10% organic substances along with the liquid is called as plasma. Now, lymph is a fluid that oozes out when the blood is flowing in the inside the blood vessels. Sometimes a fluid comes out of the blood vessel, and this fluid which comes out of the blood vessel has got only and only lymphocytes, that is WBCs. They have, that fluid does not have any other cells like RBC, WBC, I mean the RBC, platelets, no proteins, nothing, nothing. It's only a straw color, yellow color fluid with lot of WBCs, and that makes our our immune system. Now, where these lymphocytes are produced or where this lymph fluid is produced, there are two organs, that is spleen and tonsils. These, now, please, in this, for this half mark question was asked. Half mark question was asked in the name the following. Name the following. When you have 10 questions, no? In that, one of the question was name the lymph fluid producing organs. This question was asked like this also once. Only spleen was given. Producing organs. This question was also asked like this. Other than spleen, name the lymph fluid producing organ. Now they can put either lymph, spleen or on tonsils in the way. So please write it as spleen and tonsils. Half mark question was asked, 1/4, that makes a half. Okay. So half mark question was asked on this, right? Then you have tissue fluid. Now you can find this tissue fluid between the organs. Okay. Now your one of the most important organ is your brain. We are going to study this central nervous system in detail. So this part is your cranium, skull. Okay. Skull, though it looks so smooth from outside, inside it is not that smooth. It is made up of, because the skull itself is made up of 7 different plates. Okay, and there are 22 total bones in the skull. So the inner portion of the skull is quite rough. So God has given something more better. He has given something called as meninges. These are fibrous coverings, 3 layer of fiber covering, and tough than what your radial tires and all are. You cannot tear that thing. It's that tough. And below this meninges, there's a fluid in which our unused brain of 1,300 grams or 1,500 grams is floating like a baby inside that. Okay, that's called as cerebrospinal fluid, CFS. Now, the impact I gave just now, nothing has happened to me. Why? Because first the impact was absorbed by the non-movable joint like skull. Further, the wave would have traveled, they must have touched the meninges, and whatever the further waves went were absorbed by the cerebrospinal. This fluid has got two main functions. Two main functions. One function is that it absorbs the mechanical shocks, and second thing, it lubricates the brain. It lubricates the brain. Does not allow it to dry off. This fluid, when it flows through the medulla oblongata and goes down into the spinal cord, okay, the same thing is called as spinal fluid. Today, my Sasuji is gone to Pune to get a spine operation. But before that, when we took her for the first time, that spine specialist took out the fluid पाठी त्याला मराठीमध्ये तुम्ही बरेचदा घरामध्ये कोणातरी बोलताना पण ऐकलं असेल पाठीतलं पाणी काढलं मेंदूतलं पाणी काढलं what is this मेंदूतलं पाणी काढलं किंवा पाठीतलं the reason why they check the reason this is nothing but a cerebrospinal fluid and the spinal fluid that they check sometimes what happens is that if the infection is very severe if the infection is very severe, the bacteria happen to pass on into these fluids. Okay, and they damage the vertebrae and the other parts of the brain also. Like in bachus, chota bachus, neonates, there is a disease called as meningitis. Now, this meningitis takes place when you have typhoid or the enteric fever is there. When enteric fever crosses the limits up to where that it can pass on from the meninges and enter the cerebrospinal fluid. And the meninges get hot. त्याला आपण म्हणतो डोक्यात ताप गेला बरोबर तो जो डोक्यात ताप जाणं असतं that is nothing but the infection to the cerebrospinal fluid. So the doctors take that fluid and find out how much percentage of bacteria and what up to what level that bacteria has damaged, the damage has been done. So it is seen here also, it is seen in the spinal fluids also. Then you have studied the cerebrospinal fluid, sorry, synovial fluid. The synovial fluid is there to lubricate the patella and the femur and the tibia fibula, right? So these are the bones of your thigh, वाटी म्हणतो ना आपण गुडघ्याची वाटी पटेला so synovial fluid is there for that. Then if you are a non-vegetarian, if you go across, when you go, especially those are lamb eaters, mutton eaters, okay, mutton eaters, okay, when you will see that there is a peritoneum, that is your viscera or the organs are joined by a very translucent layer of a tissue. That butcher keeps on separating that tissue first, right? And then he cuts the pieces. So there also you will have the tissue fluid so that the lubrication is there. There is no, actually, it is so beautiful. I tell you, when I first did my first dissection of the frog, the first incision I gave, and the skin just went apart. And what I could see was a creation of a sculptress. That types of creation in just this much of gap. Your large intestine, your small intestine, your liver, spleen, the gallbladder, your pancreas, everything, and your heart, lungs, the aortas, so beautifully placed by God. And when you cut it's in the unconscious state. You can literally see the heart thumping. So that's what is really a beautiful, what God is great. Creation. You cannot create creation like what God has created. So the reason is this was the three fluids. Now we come to our blood. I'm sure nobody's a vampire here. No, no. You know who's vampire? Do you know Dr. Dracula, Count Dracula? No? Count Dracula, you know? Ah, you know who? He is a vampire, he is the godfather of vampires. He's the first vampire. I remember, see, when I was in sixth standard and seventh standard, we used to have books. We didn't have all gadgets with us. The only thing which we could rely on entertainment was bedtime stories or bedtime reading books. So we used to read those Hardy Boys and Nancy Drews and many things. And out of that was this Count Dracula series. Okay, so this Count Dracula used to speak whole day in his. He's from Russia, settled in US, and whole day he used to sleep. At night he used to go and get the people and give a bite, especially to those beautiful girls, and turn them into vipresses. Oh, it should be so sad यार. Then we क्या है यार साले को बहुत चांस मिलता है अपने को वो दिखता ही नहीं. Huh? So this was a case. So vampires, I hated them right from the beginning because they destroyed all my dreams. Okay, right? So this was a case, and these vampires are the blood suckers. But then what is that there to suck the blood and taste blood? I don't know. Anytime any one of you have tasted the blood,
Yes, sir.
अरे मेनी टाइम्स में अरे बाबा हिंदी पिक्चर में का एकदम सबसे फैंटास्टिक सीन है. हीरो का हाथ कट जाता है और दो दो एक विलन लेडी और एक हीरोइन लेडी खड़ी रहती है. हीरोइन विलेन लेडी इधर उधर देखती है, हीरोइन लेडी जाके एंड फिर दोनों फिर देन देयर इज अ स्टिल. दोनों की आंखें और आंखें मिलती है, दिल के दिल मिलते हैं, ब्लड का ब्लड मिलता है और दोनों एक दूसरे के लिए. भाई दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ दिस ब्लड. इतने रिश्ते बनाए इसने. ओके, सो ब्लड इज दैट इंपॉर्टेंट. ध्यान में रखो. Tip given to all my boys and tips given to all my girls. If you have anybody who is competing with your boy, ask your boy to cut, give him a cut, and you can have a nice blood test of blood. Okay, right? Jokes apart, the blood is salty in nature. Okay, taste. The reason is that we eat sodium chloride. भाई हम इतना नमक खाते हैं, देश का नमक खाते हैं, किसका किसका नमक खाते हैं ना, टाटा नमक, आयोडाइज नमक. हाँ? तो ये नमक हमारे ब्लड में रहता है. हमारे बहुत सारे green vegetables जो हम खाते हैं, like spinach, fenugreek, cabbage, they're from there also. You get a lot of sodium salts, and this sodium is very very important. Where it is important in the cardiovascular system because it helps in the influx of the sodium. उसके वजह से impulse शुरू होता है. That when the pacemaker comes, I'll explain it to you. So this sodium is very important. Sodium chloride, table salt. Your blood is what I can say salty in taste. It is slightly alkaline. Okay, it is I think 7.45. 7.45. I don't know. I forgot. 7.3 to 7.45 pH. What is the definition of pH?
Power of hydrogen.
Yes.
Sir, power of hydrogen.
I want the Arrhenius theory of ions का definition. यार ये बुड्ढा आता है ना, सच्ची में दिमाग को तान देता है. चुपचाप आके बायोलॉजी पढ़ा नहीं करना है. क्या यार, कहाँ से अरेनियस, कहाँ से केमिस्ट्री घुसड़ता है, कहाँ से पीएच पूछता है. जाने दो, बुद्धे को ही आंसर दे दे दो. pH is a negative logarithm of the hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, more the hydrogen ion concentration, the solution is in an in electrolysis when there is a dissociation of ions. If the ions, more hydrogen ions are dissociated, it is always a acidic solution. When very less ions of hydrogen are dissociated, it is a alkaline or basic solution. Right? Now, almost 5 liters of volume of blood is there in a human being. Okay. Now, this blood is bright red in color. Okay. Right? Sometimes it can become blackish red also. त्यामध्ये कंपनी नंबर. This RBC, this blood has got red color because our RBCs have got hemoglobin. This hemoglobin, I'm going to tell in detail. I'm just telling you, it has got iron. When blood comes in contact with oxygen, and you know that anything that comes in contact with oxygen, boom, burns, burns. And when it burns, it forms iron oxide. Okay, it is oxidized. The food is oxidized. Okay, this oxidation of the by the oxygen of the iron gives iron oxide. A combustion, slow burning is there. A glow comes to your blood, and that is the red color. Okay, that is how you get your red color. Now, this, as I told you, that it is red in color. Volume is about say 5 liters to 6 liters, depending upon whether you are Ali or a Lilliput. Okay. Then what are the functions of the plant? We have studied so many since the childhood, but today we will study a little. The level is at a higher level. See, you know that we are all holozoic animals. What is the difference between an autotrophic and a holozoic? And holozoic come under what? Heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are made up of parasites. Parasites are made up of endoparasites, ectoparasites, decomposers, scavengers. Barabar na? Decomposers also known as what? Saprophytes. And we are known as heterotrophs. We are heterotrophs of holozoic type of nutrition. Now, what is meant by holozoic type of nutrition? A holozoic type of a nutrition is a nutrition in which first the person ingests the food. Okay? Then he masticates the food. Then he digests the food. Then he absorbs the food. Then he assimilates the food. And then he excretes the food. Now, where we are, now what is the function of blood? See, assimilation is done. Assimilate means to bring it together and put to use. Now, the digested food which you have eaten, a chapati which is starch, the ultimate end product is glucose, a simple sugar which can be dissolved in the blood. Proteins have been converted to amino acids, right? Fats have been completely converted into fatty acids and glycerols. Now, these three basic units of your conversion of the food, which have become the dissolved material, now it can be dissolved in the blood. Why it needs to be dissolved in the blood? Because when this dissolved product is taken to the cells, it is given inside the cell, and the cell utilizes it for its benefit. Like amino acid, when it goes inside the cell, is converted back into the proteins, and that is what the protein is. How our body or cell gets a protein for body building. The glucose which is brought is given to the mitochondria, where when the oxygen comes in, the oxygen combines with the glucose and burns the glucose and you get the ATP. Correct? That is the cellular respiration. The fatty acids and the glycerols are stored inside the liver as a reserve food, so that in future when there is a starvation or when there is a lack of carbohydrate, these can be converted with the help of insulin into the glucose and body can still survive for some days. And that is how man versus wild, the man can survive for 3 days even after not eating. It is only because his body, though the carbohydrates have gone and finished in his body, the liver which has not stored the carbohydrates fatty acids, has been utilized into conversion. So this is the importance of the blood. It carries the nutrients to all the parts of the cells of the body. Okay. Then it transports oxygen and it collects carbon dioxide. See this your oxygen and blood, uh, they have that hate and love story relationship. एक दूसरे के लिए, हाँ? ऑक्सीजन को हीमोग्लोबिन देखा, हाँ? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को हीमोग्लोबिन देखा, okay. So as soon as the inhalation is there is a diffusion of oxygen through the alveoli into the capillaries. The capillaries have hemoglobin in them. As soon as hemoglobin and oxygen come in contact, they form an unstable compound called as oxyhemoglobin. I'm just going to stop here because I'm going to talk about oxyhemoglobin and hemoglobin more in detail when I start with the erythrocytes, that is others. This unstable compound is an oxygen carrier. Okay, and like you know how Rajas and Maharajas are escorted by their ADCs, escort, you know, like a Maharaja has to come, somebody is escorting him up to the main gate and all this. So like that, this hemoglobin, now the oxyhemoglobin, escorts the oxygen to each and every cell of the body. It goes, opens up the cell, puts the oxygen. When he puts the oxygen, there is another person ready to shake hand, that is carbon dioxide. He puts the oxygen, he becomes free. Once again, it becomes hemoglobin. The cell gives the carbon dioxide to him, and it becomes carboxyamino hemoglobin. Now, this carboxyamino hemoglobin is brought back to the lungs, and through the lungs, through tracheas, what we exhale out the carbon dioxide through our nose during the respiration. Please remember the words like carboxyamino hemoglobin. There are 3 words you should remember. Combination with oxygen is oxyhemoglobin. Combination with carbon dioxide is carboamino hemoglobin. And combination with carbon monoxide is carboxyhemoglobin. Is that understood? These words are asked in the name the following. वो 5 mark का आता है ना 10 mark के लिए. So they ask what is the unstable compound formed by oxygen and hemoglobin. Unstable compound formed by carbon dioxide and hemoglobin. Unstable compound formed by hemoglobin and carbon monoxide. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please mark them, write them, whatever it is. म्हणजे तू mark नाही करते मी पटके लिहिलं. Then they transport excretory material. Okay. Blood is purified in the kidney. Kidney is our filter. Okay. And blood contains 90% of water, which is more than what we need. So that excess water has to be converted into susu. So that susu system converts all that thing, kidneys, both the kidneys. Okay. And along with that, they filter the blood also. When we come to that, I'm going to tell you a beautiful story. Okay. When we come to the excretory system, there is a beautiful story, and I'll tell you the name and the title of the story. Okay. This title of the story was asked by the Birbal. Badshah had asked this question to Birbal. Birbal, which is the most pleasurable day on the earth, or which is the most happiest day on the earth. So the title of the story is The Happiest Day on the Earth, in bracket, when we will come to see the excretory system. याद दिलाना मुझे, बहुत अच्छी स्टोरी है, बहुत अच्छा. Okay. Then yes, distribution of hormones. We know that most of the endocrine system glands, they are ductless glands. They secrete their secretions and they only produce hormones. They don't produce enzymes. These hormones are chemical substances. We're going to see them in the endocrine system. These hormones are chemical substances which are produced somewhere and have an effect on a target organ which is far away located from them. Okay, so to transport these chemical messengers, and these chemical messengers are very helpful in one of the systems of our body, that is chemical coordination. This chemical coordination is nothing but a biochemistry laboratory of our body, which helps us in various functions. It helps us in the growth, it helps in the genetic diseases, it helps in the metabolism, it helps in various functions. All together, you will understand so many endocrine glands are there, ductless glands which pour their secretions and hormones in the blood, and they have lot of effect on your body. Okay, right? Even I tell you your emotions, like Eva, that is controlled by one of the hormones. Okay, so all these this transportation of hormones is done by the blood. Then then distribution of heat. I would not consider this as a excretory system of body, but I would just consider as removal of heat. The reason is that your body contains blood, which contains dissolved minerals, which contains 90% of water. When the outside temperature becomes very hot, or you have done a heavy exercise, you start perspiring, right? Why do you perspire? Because the blood start gets hotter, the body temperature increases, it increases the temperature of the blood, it starts getting rather boiled up or garam, which gives water vapor. This water vapor contains dissolved salts, minerals, some amount of traces of urea, uric acid, all these waste material which is there in the blood. So that comes in the form of water vapor outside the body through the sweat glands and sweat pores, and that is nothing but your sweat, right? You seen Bhag Milkha Bhag, huh? That fellow drinks his sweat and by mistake, by he except as he is doing his exercise. Yes, it is salty because it again contains all salts, urea, uric acid, most ammonia, and many other dissolved inorganic unwanted substances through which through the sweat body is losing it out. Okay, so with heat the body uses certain unwanted substances also. But this cannot be put as into criteria of a excretory organ or a excretory system. This body's main excretory system because the quantity of the material, waste material lost by the sweat is comparatively less than what you use it with the help of urine. Okay, and that is why we cannot say that it is the excretory organ. We just keep it that it helps in removing the substances, right? Then it also does a protective function, that is phagocytosis. It invades the foreign particles which come inside the body, engulfs them and kills them by phagocytosis. Now, like phagocytosis, I'll just give you an example how it kills. Okay, like I don't know whether you've seen amoeba, pseudopodias of amoeba, how they move, go in and then, right? Or you just imagine that Shivaji Maharaj is going to meet Afzal Khan. Okay, he's so 6, 7 feet tall, and Shivaji Maharaj is so small. You must have heard that Povada also, Pratap Gadacha, Paitashi, Shivaji, or nothing like that. Just imagine that there is Afzal Khan here and this is Shivaji coming. Okay, Afzal Khan is 6 feet, 7 feet. and Shivaji 5 feet, and he says, "How Shiva, how hamare gale lag ja." And then he puts his both the hands on Shivaji and tries to kill him. So, like this is how the same way the WBC sends its pseudopodia across the particle, that is, it may be a antigen or it may be a bacteria or it may be a bacteriophage, virus, any damn thing. So when it sees a foreign particle, it goes there, and that is a place where it oozes out. Diapedesis takes place, and oozing of the plasma with only with the WBC happens. Now this is lymph fluid which is coming out. Okay. When diabetes comes, once again I'll tell you how the lymph fluid is created. Okay, right? So just imagine that your WBC is giving a big hug to that virus or a bacteria through its pseudopodias and engulfing it and killing it. Then it does or one more thing, that is uh, it creates antitoxins. We have seen it in WBCs, right? Some of the functions. It creates antitoxins and antibodies. I've explained you what are antitoxins. I've explained you what is antibodies also. And last function is that it helps in clotting of the blood. This is the defense mechanism. The defense mechanism of the bacteria of the blood, right? And we're going to see in detail how does it happen. Because see how God is great. During the WBC also, I explained you the difference between heparin and histamine. Histamine is the anticoagulant. That is, wherever the blood is there inside your body, it does not allow it to clot. But it also, the same blood contains thromboplastin and protein, which all these things are there in the blood. Heparin, thromboplastin, histamine, all these things. They have their specific functions. When that specific situation comes, it begins. So when you today at present just now the blood is flowing in your and my body, it is time we should thank the histamine. That histamine is keeping our blood in the liquid state. It is not allowing it to clot. But by chance we just now go and fall and have a bruise, and the blood starts to come. That is the time when thromboplastin will start getting activated, and it will release certain substances and form a clot. So these are some of the defense mechanisms of the body. Lastly, we come to the plasma. Plasma is nothing but it is a yellow colored fluid. See, what you do is that for getting plasma, you have to centrifuge the blood. When you take the whole blood, then you take it in the test tube, okay? Add an anticoagulant so that it does not clot. Then put it in the centrifugal machine, and at 1000 RPM, you rotate those tubes. Due to the centrifugal force, the solid particles will get segregated and will go to the center of the gravity. That is, they will settle down. And then what you get is the water which is there in the blood. Now this water we call it as plasma. This plasma has about 90 to 90% of water, proteins, inorganic salts like sodium chloride, potassium chloride, okay, calcium and all those things, and other substances. Plasma does not have RBC and WBC. Is that understood? The lymph fluid has only WBC and no RBC and no platelets. And serum is another thing. That's a pale liquid which does not have anything in it. Which does not have anything in it. So not it only has WBCs and serum does not have the clotting material, that is thromboplastine is not there. In plasma you have thromboplastine, in lymph you have thromboplastine, but in serum you do not have that. So today we will start here. Next Monday we are going to start with erythrocytes, leukocytes, platelets, diapedesis, phagocytosis, serum, and different types. Why there are reasons why RBC doesn't have certain organelles and many more things. Okay. Thank you very much, boys and girls, for being with me. I hope you have understood this much theory of the functions of the blood. Any queries in the audience?
No, sir.